Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. Nearly half of all Americans believe in medical conspiracy theories that have been purposely discredited by intelligence agencies. This is a special report that I'm sharing with you as a Harvard Public Health trained behavioral scientist and world-leading medical conspiracist, objecting to the Journal of the American Medical Association's Medical Conspiracy Theories article related to health behaviors in the United States by Eric Oliver and Thomas Wood from the Department of Political Science at the University of Chicago. This propaganda is being heavily publicized by the Chicago-based Tribune Company, owner of the Los Angeles Times, with catastrophic social and economic consequences. The Medical Conspiracy Theories article, headlined by Melissa Healy for the Times, is titled, "Nearly Half of All Americans Subscribe to a Medical Conspiracy Theory." It's outrageously misleading, scientifically erroneous, transparently commercial, and treasonous as it aids and abets iatrogenic diseases, doctor-induced morbidity and mortality, ongoing especially in the HIV/AIDS community and beyond. Every reasonably intelligent health behaviorist, or even veteran journalist, knows that questions determine answers, and the ways questions are phrased determines people's responses. Political science and campaign polling is jaded by this well-established and widely known fact, albeit constantly abused for the public persuasion and population management that's ongoing. As the author of the award-winning book Emerging Viruses, AIDS and Ebola, Nature, Accident, or Intentional, that explores the CIA HIV/AIDS conspiracy theory most thoroughly among all treatments of this taboo subject, my research corroborates Dr. Alan Cantwell's conclusions pursuant to the hepatitis B vaccine transmissions of HIV/AIDS, killing mostly gay men in New York City. Cantwell's and my works have been criminally neglected by the scientific establishment and grossly obfuscated by disinformation agents and campaigns smearing origin of AIDS theorists who have contributed most to the developing public consensus that HIV/AIDS is a man-made disease associated with the CIA-linked vaccination genocide. Thus, I object to the American Medical Association's and Tribune Company's alliance in further disseminating false and misleading information and the fraudulently obtained data misinterpreted and misrepresented by Oliver and Wood. I especially oppose the fraudulent diagnosis heralded by these agents of the yellow presses that most individuals, they say, who endorse these medical conspiracy theories are, quote, otherwise normal, but use a sort of cognitive shortcut to explain complex and confusing events. The major cognitive shortcut in the fraudulent conclusions drawn by Oliver and Wood appears in their polling question. They asked for agreement. Did the CIA deliberately infect large numbers of African Americans with HIV under the guise of a hepatitis inoculation program, end quote? Now, no reasonably informed person would answer yes to such a false and misleading question. Alternatively, the more honest related question that they asked that received overwhelming agreement was, the Food and Drug Administration is deliberately preventing the public from getting natural cures for cancer and other diseases because of pressure from drug companies. As noted by Dr. Cantwell, no legitimate social scientist would have drafted this deceptive CIA AIDS question, since the targeted population in America was not African Americans, but mainly and initially gay men in New York City. Likewise, I claim the University of Chicago political science study is transparently contrived to defraud people, divert from the substantive, evidence-based facts supporting the man-made origin of AIDS theory. The University of Chicago study was designed, purposely flawed, to obfuscate this most controversial matter. Now, I make this claim because what is widely published on the internet, reflecting widespread public knowledge of the CIA's links to the AIDS outbreak, published mainly by me, according to Wikipedia, a widely known mouthpiece for the CIA's propaganda. In fact, Wikipedia does not allow me to edit their false, misleading, even libelous biography smearing me, Dr. Leonard Horowitz, nor alter in any way their propaganda titled Discredited HIV/AIDS Origins Theories. Here in Wikipedia, I am disparaged for sourcing Reverend Jeremiah Wright's and the Nation of Islam's position on HIV/AIDS being a genocidal weapon for mass depopulation. Nor does Wikipedia even mention me in their CIA and AIDS page, in which my work is purposely entirely neglected, even though they cite Boyd Ed Graves' work spun from my publications. Here, the government discredits Boyd Ed Graves, a non-scientist, gay, black man who died of AIDS, as an easy target for discrediting. The U.S. General Accounting Office spun Graves' diversion into a slam dunk whitewashing by the government. In fact, the GAO investigators purposely censored my testimony that they solicited for their so-called study of this subject. I am certain and correct the information was given by the GAO investigators to the CIA that, according to the Washington Post, oversees all HIV/AIDS science for reasons of national security. If my claims were truly discredited or discreditable, as Wikipedia and the status quo media reports, then they most certainly would have referenced one scientific report or government report that refuted my findings, disproving the clear and present links between the earliest hepatitis B vaccine trials, the Merck drug company that manufactured that vaccine, its president George W. Merck's leadership of America's biological weapons industry or enterprise, and the spread of HIV/AIDS worldwide. What no one wants to mention or disprove is the fact that the initial hepatitis B vaccines were manufactured in contaminated chimpanzees, supplied by Merck's and the U.S. military's leading biological weapons contractor that I'll be mentioning in a minute. In fact, my works include dozens of articles appearing on the internet in top positions on every search of this subject, a mass of online published reports spanning a quarter century, wherein I evidence the science tying CIA and national security interest-influenced companies to the hepatitis B vaccine trials in New York City on gay men, not blacks, not gay men in San Francisco, nor gay men in Denver, who the Centers for Disease Control's bogus investigation selected for their hepatitis B vaccine origin of AIDS study. Now that's like scientific evidence tampering. These disinformation agents precisely neglected New York City's gay men, injected between 1972 and 74, a taboo history off limits to AIDS theorists and political scientists who follow their fellow University of Chicago propagandist Dr. Robert Gallo. Gallo falsely claimed the discovery of the first HIVs during the early 1980s. 10 years after he served as project officer for the National Cancer Institute's contract number 712025, titled Investigations of Viral Carcinogenesis in Primates, in which this molecular biologist co-mutated numerous AIDS-like and Ebola-like viruses with the Army's sixth leading biological weapons contractor, Lytton Bionetics, that supplied Merck & Company the African green monkeys that Gallo claimed sourced the pandemic from Africa. Gallo diverted from the contaminated chimpanzees, also shipped by Lytton Bionetics to the Merck Drug Company, from which the first hepatitis B vaccines were prepared for trials in New York City on gay men. Other experimental subjects for this mission included Willowbrook State School mentally retarded children on Staten Island, and sex workers and health professionals in Central Africa and Haiti. Subsequent status quo scientists seeking grants for sustenance follow Gallo's lead, generating disinformation like a protection racket in pseudoscience. Any reasonable person would question, who's making the money and protecting national security interests? Can you imagine the liability that would result from this evidence-based intelligence becoming widely accepted beyond the world of medical conspiracists? Suffice it to say, the Tribune Company is largely owned by Goldman Sachs, Oak Tree Capital Management, and JP Morgan Chase. huge special interests with a profound investment in global economic intelligence and health maintenance? In conclusion, the aforementioned purveyors of propaganda should be more than ashamed of themselves. They should be tried and convicted for high treason and mass murder. I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz, reporting from Hawaii.